Hey Tom, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good. How's it going?
Very well, thanks so much for your time today.
Absolutely. I love your DVD collection. That's like amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, my heart is still where the physical media is,
Same.
obviously. Yeah.
It's a much better way of doing it.
Sorry?
It's a much better way of being able to like hold and look at films in such a way rather
Oh,
than just get lost in a catalog online.
absolutely, for sure. 100% agree with you on that. Absolutely. So, Tom, since your character is kind of, philosophical, I brought some philosophical questions a little bit. Hope you're okay with that.
Cool.
And the first one is like, because your character kind of says that when he and his best friend were children, they both kind of wanted to go to acting school together. But he also told Roman that it was just like a childish dream. And I
Hmm.
was wondering, when it comes down to your career as an artist, how did you make sure that your childhood dream becomes a reality?
Yeah, maybe it was just a childish dream.
Come on.
um, let's see what happens after this film. Yeah,
Well,
when
but you have come already much further than others.
Yeah, I guess that's probably actually true. I should be grateful, really, right, for like what I've managed to achieve. I think the thing is, it's always this case of like when you get to one point, the bar just raises and raises and raises. So yeah,
Right.
but no, it's been really amazing to see and feel actually how the film affects people. But yeah, I basically began acting probably when I was quite young, just for fun. Just there was a local play like that was every Christmas in my home village,
Hmm.
and like I would kind of get involved in that. And then when I was at school, I was always in like the acting, club or class. And then I actually started directing as well when I was about 16. It was actually a teacher who said like, "Oh, like okay, you're going to direct this play, and I'm going to produce it." And I was like, "Oh, okay, like let's just start there." And then yeah, really, I guess it was the moment where I was leaving school and had to decide whether I was going to go to acting school or whether to go to art school. And actually, acting kind of got the better of me. And
Right.
then I went to the Royal Academy in London. And yeah, then I guess the rest is history.
Right. And what about, because in the movie, your character also, Roman tells your character, hey, go to Mosfilm and become an actor. And your character is like, well, there are like 20 people that they allow on every year. So pretty much giving up before trying. And I was wondering if you ever had to overcome a moment where you actually had to tell yourself, hey, no matter how impossible it seems, I am good and I can be the chosen one.
That's still a daily challenge. Um, I'm
But
not
you're
joking.
facing it. You're facing it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that yeah, there's been many, many times, when I first auditioned for acting school the first year, it was incredibly challenging, and I probably didn't really know what I was doing at all at the time, and just sort of making it up as I went along. And then I went back the second year, and then I applied and got into like a number of schools, and it was kind of like a dream come true, really. Actually, I trained at as I mentioned, at the Royal Academy in London, and that was honestly like it was kind of there or nowhere for me. So I kind of ended up actually achieving my dream and going to that school. Um, and then, ironically enough, like when I came out of school, because I didn't really enjoy that process, I actually didn't want to be an actor anymore. Uh, so then I started writing, and actually, it was through writing that I rediscovered my love for acting. And then that took me to like the West End, and then on to like my sort of various film roles. Actually, at that very early stage in my career. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. And I mean, there's like a famous line in the movie that goes like, it's not in the stars to hold our destiny. So it's us that, kind of choose our destiny.
Mm.
Um, I was wondering, how do you make sure that like you don't wait, for the stars to make a decision for you for a miracle? How do you make sure that it's really you making decisions?
Um, I love these questions. Very like original. Um, I guess like being quite specific about what you want, yet at the same time not having fixed route of getting there. Like my best example probably of that is actually when I got into RADA I had to raise like £16,000 in 3 months. And like as a 20-year-old, that was certainly no small feat.
Right.
And I basically just went all out and had to do it. And people were like, well, how are you going to do that? And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea but like it's going to happen. And I did it. And you know, got to the school and got me basically my fees to pay the course and like my living time through the time that I was there. But there was so many times along the way that people were like, well, what if you get half? Or like, what if you get some of it and not all of it? You're gonna have to give half of it back. Like, and I was like, that's not even an option. That's not even happening. I was like, in the reality that I choose right now is that I go and there's no room for compromise. And I guess like in a way that's when I get that clarity about something that I want, then I go all out. But most of the challenge actually is the time of getting the clarity.
But it's so cool. It shows that if you work towards something, it can happen, because, you know, others will say, oh, £16,000. No, you know, let's try something else.
Yeah.
So there's also a line that Roman tells your character. He goes like, you're an actor, so act. And then Sergey goes like, well, I already act whenever I leave the house. And it's wondering, because as an actor, of course, you pretend to be someone you are not all the time. And I was wondering if you ever felt the need to kind of play a character off screen as well, for whatever reason.
It definitely creeps in. Like I was playing a bit of I'd say like a more like darker or kind of evil character in a film a few years ago. And it's funny how the behavior begins to creep into your behavior, even like on set, and you're like, oh, like, I mean, in some ways it was quite fun, because I was like, this is a side of myself that I acknowledge that actually they're all sides of ourselves. Like I never take on an acting role that I don't believe I can actually have the qualities to be able to play. So there was definitely like an element to me which was like, oh, okay, there definitely is like a side of me which is like this for sure. And I just found it kind of quite fun and surprising how it started creeping in though into my reality. And I was like, oh wow, like Jack, like the character of Jack was beginning to almost like come through me and answer somebody in such a way which was a bit like, oh, wow. Like, is that who you are? I was like, this is kind of fun, but also a little bit scary.
Right. So fun. You were slowly becoming that person without wanting it.
Honestly, that's one of the things like why I love acting though, is because it's always challenging us actually though for who we are. And quite often when I get asked to do like an accent in a film, or even like a, you know, an audition, it just it changes the way you move, the way you speak, like the way you move your eyes, and like has like such qualities. That's why I actually really like doing, you know, accent changes or you know, a very different culture or a very different physical change in the body.
Right. And there is like, we know that because Roman says that the only place he really feels free is like in heaven when he's flying. And I was wondering, what would you say is like the place you feel free the most, and why?
I'd say probably, funnily enough, actually on a film set. I feel so at home actually on a film set. I love like this coming together of so many different art forms all at once, like of the costume and of the set decoration and of the prop mastery and of the acting and like of the lighting and the kind of atmospheric illusion that we're all there to create. I love that atmosphere, and I'd say that when combined with really great writing can make acting feel like flying, for sure. And I actually say that like there's one really amazing acting teacher that I worked with after all my years of going through acting school and many other experiences, and I met her very further on in my career, and she just taught me some techniques and some ways of approaching things which made it feel like flying. And I was like, then you kind of combine that with the art form of making movies, like that's just like incredible. You know, when I look at like how some of the behind the scenes stuff they shot of like Titanic, for example, right? Like, wow, like that would be just like so amazing to be like in that moment, you know, with the water and the lights and the set creation and everything. I'm just like, wow.
Right. And speaking of, like moments, because in the movie, of course, it's especially for your character, it's important to, like capture stuff, and like he likes to capture like the moment that is kind of gone afterwards.
Mhm.
I was wondering, what would you say is like one moment you wish you would have captured just to hold on a little longer?
I think it's something like when you take a moment, there's something in that very moment. When you take a photo, there's something in that very moment which is gone forever, a moment that will never be there again.
Mm.
And yeah, like that line to me it's like amazingly poetic and kind of almost like a little bit cryptic, but it's so true that particularly with celluloid photography, because on an iPhone you can just like snap away and make a video now. But there's something quite amazing about like taking a photo at a time where you're kind of instilling a moment in your mind and instilling a memory with that moment, and then it's gone, and then your experience of that emotion or that moment you always access again through that image, if that makes sense. But the moment is then therefore gone. And so it can kind of almost transport you back to that moment, but it will never be that moment again.
Right. And so Tom, my last question to you would be like, because there's also like, there are like so many topics in the movie that make you actually think, like one of them is also when your character says, so you believe, so a lie becomes a truth if you believe in it. And it's also, like the question if how we kind of can no longer recognize, a truth if we believe lies and stuff. I was wondering, because a lot of people believe it's better to believe a lie because they feel like it makes them feel more comfortable for whatever reason. I was wondering, how do you stop yourself from believing lies? How do you make sure, like you see the truth?
I think like by being radically honest with yourself. And that's a very, very courageous thing to do. And I don't know how many people are actually able to do that. And I still struggle with that for sure. But yeah, being radically true to yourself. And that can be anything from, saying no to an event that you don't really want to go to, or, not spending time with somebody that you don't feel kind of like brings you to the version of yourself which you feel is true. If you feel like you're kind of almost acting a version of yourself around somebody, then radical self-honesty comes into play, and then you go, sorry, actually, like I end up like not seeing somebody again, or not speaking to somebody again, and I think that it's very difficult to be that honest with yourself, because you end up ending a lot of relations, creating a lot of much more fulfilling ones though, because you can then be in a company with somebody, for example, and then just be so comfortable in silence that it's just like amazing. And like I don't think that you'll necessarily get there without being radically honest.
Right. Seriously, Tom, thank you so much for sharing your stories, for sharing your thoughts. Obviously, all the best with Firebird. And I cannot wait for Barbara Broccoli to announce you as the next Bond, of course.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. No, thank you so much for your very considered questions.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Very much. And thank you for joining the chat.
Absolutely.